Tip number 103 from the book 501 Contractor Tips. Should you hire a secretary? Now this is a tough one. And it would be my guess, if you have less than 10 employees, you might just want to do all the paperwork yourself. I think the most employees I ever had was about 15. And I did the paperwork on my own. It really took me, I had to do a little extra work after hours doing the paperwork. Now when I say after hours, I would come home on a Thursday night or even a Wednesday night and do my payroll to make sure that these people had their paycheck. If you want to really irritate someone, one of your workers, don't pay them when you tell them you're going to, and see what happens. Now a secretary, don't forget, can be hired on a part-time basis. It could also be one of your friends, anybody out there just looking for a little side work who's trustworthy. And of course you would have to start them off with tasks that they would be comfortable doing. You might not, it might not even be a consideration to hire someone on a part-time basis and let them do all your payroll and accounting. This might not be the best way to go unless they're a professional and do this as a full-time job kind of a thing. And a full-time, obviously part-time, just as long as they're a professional and they're willing to do it and they know how to do it. Do not expect to hire a secretary and them to take over all of the tasks that you're not interested in doing. This probably isn't going to happen, and you could end up hiring a secretary depending upon how much money you're willing to pay. Let's not forget, if all you can afford is $12 an hour, you're not going to get the same quality as if you can pay $75 an hour. You've got to keep that in mind also. And at the same time, you're not going to want to hire a secretary if you cannot afford to pay them the wages that they require. Do not forget about that. If you're right on the edge and you're thinking, hey, I'm just barely getting by, but I need a secretary, this could be tough. You're going to have to create some type of a plan to make sure that whether or not this is working or not. At the end of 6 months, the secretary's working, but you're starting to go in the red, you're losing money, the secretary might have to go. Do not forget also that this is also going to increase your overhead. So if right now you're charging someone 10% for overhead on your jobs, then you hire a secretary, you could end up needing to raise that from 10% to 30%, depending upon how many jobs you're doing and the hourly wage or salary that you're going to be paying the secretary. So really give this some consideration. If you need a secretary, you're swamped, you can't afford a full-time one, then try hiring a part-time one, and then working your way gradually to where you can hire that individual as full-time for full-time employment. Or if they only can work part-time, then hopefully you can find another one for full-time employment later. So don't forget, if you're not working and you have an office and you have a secretary in that office and you are not making money, you will still be paying these expenses. So don't just think that, hey, the first thing I need to do as a contractor is get me an office and a secretary without a good plan, or without a plan that's actually going to be effective.